0% of you are subscribed. Fix that.
And I guess the thing is that you want to have the state at some point to do some kind of experimentation that goes beyond tax credits and things like that. You want to have a much more hands-on sort of experimentation to get the data that you need. All right. And
well,
to
like,
me,
wait, like
I
what?
find that, yeah, like taking, for example, you wouldn't just start by taking all the co-ops, right? You take some of them, right? You take some amount of them, right?
I think there's enough. I think there's enough room for further enterprise in this country that we could rely on non-seizure methods, at least for the short term, at least to develop.
Then, Vaush, if you are saying basically I abandon the idea of seizing the property, then I guess
no. Down the line, the government should absolutely. Again, wage slavery, as far as I'm concerned, follows in the same ideological trend of traditional slavery. Again, I have to be clear about this. Not as bad, not even close, but fundamentally, it relies on a power imbalance in order to extol wealth value from the workers who contribute their labor. I don't like that.
I cannot imagine calling power imbalance a kind of slavery, but
you've heard the term wage slavery, right?
Yeah, to call that slavery, again, it is, we're going to go down the coercion road here, but I just don't understand.
We're absolutely going to go down the coercion road. Yeah.
I don't understand the need to, again, continually use this kind of language. But
the term wage slavery has been around for how long is the term wage slavery?
And it's a ridiculous point.
There's actually a lot of really salient underlying comparisons. The problem that you get with people espousing like wage slavery.
I was going to ask Bastiat a question quick.
Oh, sure.
Why do you find the term wage slavery but to tick you off so much? What's wrong with the term, Bastiat?
I mean, because we're talking about consensual arrangements between adults, all right? And to call that slavery by default, to say any kind of employment is a form of wage slavery, I mean, even if I conceded to your point, Vaush, that at least some forms of them might be coercive, I mean, you're defining all wage employment, all wage labor as wage slavery. And I gotta say, it doesn't make sense.
Well, the goal of the term wage slavery.
When we've seen situations where we've seen economies that have managed to raise wages, improve living standards. I mean, to say that these people are still fundamentally enslaved, it seems like
be careful with that, because even if you give a real slave a gilded palace, they would still be a slave. Raising the standard of living has no impact whatsoever on whether or not something is or is not slavery. Freedom is the key here. The term wage slavery has been around apparently since 1836. I didn't realize it was, I assumed that it was newer than that, but the reason why that comparison arises is because if you look at things on a very fundamental level, not with regards to a person's characterization as property, but just on a very fundamental level, the premise of being a slave is you work or you die. Very fundamental. It's reductive even. And likewise, if you were a textile worker in 1872 in London, the premise for you, likewise, is that you work or you die. There are differences, of course, obviously, which is why, and if anyone ever compared wage slavery to slavery in like the severity of these systems of economics, then I would scold them for that.
Why would you use the word slavery then, if you're not trying to implicitly draw the comparison?
Because the comparison should be drawn to indicate that there is a coercive element, but you won't agree with that because your definition of coercion defies my comprehension. That's the reason why. Also, it's meant to be, what's the term? When you say something and you provoke a reaction? It's
to use provocative language that you concede is inaccurate. I mean,
no. Wait, hold on. That doesn't make it inaccurate.
You're saying on the one hand, I would never compare it to slavery, and yet I am trying to use provocative language to raise the imagery of slavery.
I'm again asking if you're actually listening to me. I didn't say it's not compared to slavery. I'm saying that it isn't comparable to slavery in its severity. I said that very clearly twice. Now,
so then you could say something like wage coercion or compulsion, but to say slavery, I mean, why would you use the term unless you're trying to draw a comparison with slavery?
You are trying to draw a comparison. I'm saying the comparison shouldn't be drawn in the severity, that they're not as bad. The comparison is that in both cases, freedom is being taken from these people because they have to work or they die. Now, nowadays, the term is a little bit more muddled because we have welfare states. A person doesn't have to work or they die. You can not work and just live like a shitty existence, I guess, in America at least, because we don't have that. But back when the term wage slave...
Socialism about this situation. What would change under socialism about the situation? You'd still have to work to acquire resources. If you had a welfare state, I suppose. I mean, you might be able to avoid that, but you've got the same situation. It's just that now you've got a vote in your workplace that you still have to work at to acquire resources to live.
A great many things, and I don't know how you can believe that the presence of a vote isn't a significant difference unless you see no fundamental difference between a monarchy and a democracy. I think a vote's actually quite key. But the term wage slave was, I'm reading this now, was invented by labor organizers, the Lowell Mill girls from 1836. The reason they coined that term was because they were trying to persuade wage workers, not slaves, that really they shouldn't look at themselves as being better than the slaves, because this is a problem we have. You know, middle class workers will think, oh God, thank God I'm not working at McDonald's, and then wealthy people will think, oh thank God I'm not working as a teacher. What they were trying to say was, hey, you may think haughtily of yourself, factory workers, because you're not slaves. You're really no different. You're the same type of cog in the same type of system, one rung up. So what we should really do is not find a way to keep you a rung up. We should find a way to dismantle the system altogether. So that's the origin of the term. I don't know what you would call the verbiage, provocative or insightful, not or incendiary, maybe. I don't know. But it was meant to bring about an emotional reaction. The term has survived for 200 years, so clearly it has some holding power in our minds.
A lot of, as the right wing proves very often, a lot of inaccurate, ridiculous terms and concepts persist because they're rhetorically effective. Doesn't mean they're in any way accurate.
Well, I don't think you can say a term like wage slave is inaccurate. It's not making empirical claims about
Look, I mean, again, if you think it's possible to use the word slavery, right, but not actually imply that you were talking about slavery.
Colloquially, we use the term slavery to refer to lots of things that aren't chattel slavery. You can say, like, you're a slave to your work.
We're often wrong. I mean, to say, yeah, sure, but you would never use that to then say, hey, look, it's wage slavery, right? Because of this colloquialism, therefore it is absolutely appropriate.
Hold on.
Property,
this isn't,
right?
hold on. You're mixing a lot of things. This isn't how language works, okay? So colloquially, words are what they are. People can say you're a slave to your work. That's not wrong. I mean, you're not literally a slave, but correctness by technicality isn't how linguistics work. If a term serves a rhetorical function, then it's being used appropriately, or at least it can be used appropriately in that sense. If a person says X or Y is a wage slave, they're trying to call negative attention to the state or the condition of their employment, which I think is fine. I don't think well of the economy as it exists, so... Your lunatic definition I've never heard before.